The rain was falling softly on our tent, but inside, nothing felt peaceful. Because that night, as we lay there listening to the droplets tapping above us, he kept tossing, turning, almost like he was hiding something. I pretended not to notice. But then, he whispered a name in his sleep. A name I had never heard before. And the moment he said it, his voice cracked. I felt a chill crawl down my spine. Not from the cold rain. The rain had started earlier than we expected. Not a storm, just that soft, steady rain that makes everything feel slower, quieter, almost peaceful. But that night, peace didn't reach our tent. We had come to the campsite to reset. That's what he kept calling it. A reset, for both of us. And I tried to believe him. I really did. We spread out the sleeping bags, zipped up the tent, and listened to the rain tapping on the fabric above us. It should have felt cozy. Safe. Close. Instead, there was this strange heaviness in the air. He kept shifting beside me. Breathing unevenly. Clutching the zipper of his jacket even though it wasn't cold. At first, I thought he was just uncomfortable. But something felt wrong. You know that sixth sense? The quiet alarm in your mind that whispers, something's off. That's what I felt. I didn't say anything. I just lay there, pretending to scroll on my phone. Then, in the middle of the rain's rhythm, he whispered a name. A woman's name. Soft. Broken. Like he was apologizing to someone who wasn't there. And the moment that name left his lips, his breath caught. Almost like he was choking back guilt. I froze. The rain kept falling the same, but the air inside the tent changed. It tightened around me. Around us. He whispered the name again. This time with pain. Like he was reliving something he thought he had buried. My heart dropped. Who was she? Why was he saying her name in his sleep? And why did it sound like a confession? I gently touched his shoulder. Just enough to wake him. He didn't open his eyes slowly like normal. He jerked awake. Chest rising fast. Eyes wide with fear, not confusion. Why did you wake me? He said, breathless. But he wasn't looking at me. He was staring at the tent door. As if expecting someone, or something, to walk in. Karma, he mumbled under his breath. Barely audible. Barely real. And at that moment, I knew, whatever he had been running from, it had followed us into this rainy night. I tried to joke about it at first. Bad dream? I said it lightly, like I wasn't trying to dig. But I was. Of course I was. He wiped sweat from his forehead. Inside the cold tent, he was sweating. What did I say? He asked too quickly. Too desperately. I shrugged, pretending I barely noticed. You said a name, that's all. He froze. Completely. Like someone had unplugged him from reality. What name? I didn't want to sound jealous or insecure. But I also wasn't going to lie. I told him the name. His face went pale. Not confused. Not guilty. But, terrified. He covered his mouth with his hands. His breathing turned shaky. And he whispered, I thought she was gone. I felt a cold sting inside my chest. Gone? Who was she? Why was he scared? I didn't interrupt. I wanted him to speak on his own. And he did. She trusted me, he said quietly. But I failed her. And I never told you because I wanted to protect you from my past. Protect me? From what? From a name? From a memory? Or from the truth? He kept rubbing his hands together like he was trying to erase something that wasn't even there. She was important to me, he added softly. But something happened. Something I can't undo. And now every time it rains, I remember. Every time it rains. And here we were, inside a tent, surrounded by rain that felt almost intentional. He turned toward me with eyes full of fear. Please don't ask more. Not tonight. But how could I not? Who was she? Why did he think she was gone? And why did rain bring her back into his dreams? I didn't push him, not yet. Because something told me the truth wasn't something people told easily. Especially not in the middle of a storm of their own making. The rain outside kept falling. But inside the tent, we were drowning in silence. A silence that felt like a warning. I didn't sleep. Not even for a second. He fell asleep again, but not peacefully. He groaned. Turned. Mumbled fragments of sentences that scared me more than the name he whispered earlier. I shouldn't have left, I didn't mean to hurt her, please, don't follow me, every sentence felt like a confession. I sat up quietly and turned on the small lantern we kept in the corner. Its soft yellow light filled the tent, and lit up his face. A face full of regret. A face holding stories it never told me. When he finally woke again at dawn, he looked exhausted. Almost sick. You didn't sleep, he asked. I shook my head. He stared at the tent ceiling for a long time. Like he was trying to decide if the truth would ruin everything, or free him. I met her before you, he finally said. 2 years before. Her name, the same name he whispered, belonged to someone he once promised to take care of. She was going through something heavy, he said. She trusted me more than anyone. And one night, she called. She needed me. He looked down at his hands again. But I didn't go. The guilt in his voice sliced through the quiet morning air. It was raining that night too, he added painfully. And that was the night she disappeared. My heart clenched. Disappeared? Not left. Not moved away. Disappeared. I blamed myself, he whispered. And I still do. Suddenly, everything made sense. The tossing. The nightmares. The fear. The name. The rain. He wasn't hiding another woman from me. He was haunted by someone who never got justice. And this rainy night felt like karma reminding him of a truth he never faced. The morning light barely touched the tent, but the rain still hadn't stopped. It wasn't heavy, just steady. A soft, constant tapping that somehow made his confession feel heavier. After he told me she disappeared, we didn't talk for a few minutes. He just sat there, knees pulled up to his chest, like he was trying to make himself smaller. Like the guilt was too big for the space we were in. I watched him quietly. Not judging. Not accusing. Just trying to understand the weight he had been carrying alone. Finally, I broke the silence. What happened after she disappeared? He swallowed hard. I searched for her. 4 weeks. I went to the last place she called me from. I talked to everyone, her friends, co-workers, neighbors, even people she barely knew. But nobody had seen her. He rubbed his forehead, eyes unfocused, like he was replaying a memory he wished he could erase. She was in trouble, he continued. She told me she was scared that night, and I still didn't go. I thought she was being dramatic. I thought she just wanted attention. His voice cracked. And I was wrong. The rain outside grew slightly louder, as if reacting to his words. I reported it, he said. The police did what they could, but they didn't find anything. Eventually, the case went cold. People moved on. But I didn't. He looked at me with eyes full of years-old pain. Every rainy night reminds me of her. The night she called me was just like this. I felt my chest tighten. Not because of what he said, but because of how long he had carried this alone. But why didn't you tell me before? I asked gently. He looked down again. I was scared you'd see me differently. That you'd think I'm someone who abandons people in their worst moments. That you'd stop trusting me. He exhaled shakily. And maybe you'd be right. I shook my head. No. You made a mistake. A big one. But you didn't run away after. You tried to fix it. He blinked quickly, trying to hold himself together. But then he said something that made the air inside the tent shift again. She called me again. My breath caught. When? 2 nights ago. The rain suddenly felt louder. Sharper. Like each drop carried a warning we weren't ready for. I frowned. 2 nights ago? What do you mean? I thought she disappeared. He nodded slowly. She did. Or at least, that's what I believed. He looked at his phone lying between us. I still have the call log. The way his hands trembled when he picked up the phone told me everything. This wasn't fear of being caught in a lie. This was fear of something he couldn't explain. He opened his recent calls. And there it was, her name. A call from 2:13 a.m. Duration, midnight. Missed. A chill went down my spine. I looked at him. He looked at me. Neither of us spoke for a moment. Finally, he whispered, I didn't answer, because I didn't believe it. I thought it was a glitch, a wrong number, something stupid. His voice dropped to a whisper. But last night, when I dreamed of her, it didn't feel like a memory. It felt like she was trying to say something. A long silence filled the tent. Not awkward. Just heavy. Do you think she's alive? I asked softly. He closed his eyes. I don't know. But I know karma doesn't let the truth stay buried forever. Outside, the rain softened again. Not comforting. Not peaceful. Just, waiting. As if the night had more to reveal. We sat there in the tent, both staring at his phone like it held a doorway to the past. The missed call from her name felt unreal, but it was right there on the screen. Cold. Quiet. Impossible to ignore. He turned the phone over in his hand. Not once. Over and over, like he was scared to look at it and scared not to. I reached out and gently took the phone from him. Let's check your voicemail. He tensed instantly. I never opened it. Why? Because, if there's something there. I don't know if I can handle it. His voice was small. Shaken. Like someone standing on the edge of a truth they aren't ready to see. But I had to be the calm one. The steady one. So I unlocked the phone and opened the voicemail section. There it was. A new voicemail. Timestamped just minutes after the missed call 2 nights ago. No number. Just one word under it, unknown. My stomach tightened. I tapped on it. The audio bar loaded slowly. Too slowly. The rain outside seemed to quiet down as if even nature wanted to listen. Are you sure? I asked him. He took a deep breath, then nodded. I pressed play. At first, nothing. Just soft static. A faint hum. Almost like wind moving through a narrow space. Then, a shaky breath. Not his. Not mine. A woman's. Barely a whisper, but real. Then a voice, quiet, trembling, broken. Why didn't you come? A sharp breath escaped his lips. His body jerked like someone had punched him. I felt my own chest tighten. The voice continued, weak, fading. you promised you wouldn't leave me." Then the voicemail cut. No goodbye. No explanation. Just silence. He grabbed the phone back from me, staring at it with wide, terrified eyes. "That's her," he whispered. "That's her voice. I know it. I know it's her." I swallowed, trying to stay calm. "But how? How could she call you after all this time? How could she leave a message?" He shook his head. "I don't know. Maybe someone else used her phone. Maybe this is a prank. Maybe," but his voice cracked again. He didn't believe what he was saying. He didn't even believe himself. And then he said something that made every hair on my arms rise. "She said that exact sentence to me, on the night she disappeared." I blinked. "What do you mean?" He stared at the tent wall, eyes distant. "She said, you promised you wouldn't leave me." He closed his eyes tightly. And then the call ended. I didn't go. And she vanished. The rain outside grew heavier suddenly, not violently, but sharply. As if the sky itself reacted to his confession. He covered his face with both hands. "I think she wants something from me," he whispered. "Something I didn't give her when she was alive." I touched his arm. "Don't say that. We don't know anything yet." But he shook his head. "You didn't hear the way she said my name," he said, voice trembling. "You didn't hear the pain." I didn't argue. Because deep down, I heard something too. Not anger. Not accusation. Something worse. A plea. A request from someone who felt forgotten. He took a deep, shaky breath. "I need to go back," he said quietly. "Back where?" "To the last place I saw her. To where she called me from. To the spot where I abandoned her." The rain slowed again. Almost like it was waiting for his decision. I swallowed hard. "And you think we'll find something there?" I asked. He looked at me with haunted eyes. "I don't know. But I think that's where karma wants me to go." We packed up the tent slowly. Not because we were tired, but because every movement felt heavy. Heavy with fear. Heavy with the truth he had carried alone for so long. The rain had stopped, but the air stayed damp and cold. The kind of cold that sinks into your skin and stays there. He folded the sleeping bags with trembling hands. Kept checking his phone over and over again. As if the voicemail would suddenly disappear, or worse, as if another one might appear. "Where exactly are we going?" I finally asked. He hesitated. "The old river bridge," he said softly. "That's the last place she called me from." I felt something twist inside me. "That's miles from here." He nodded. "I know. But I need to go. I need to face whatever I ran from." We loaded everything into the car. He didn't start the engine right away. Just sat there, holding the steering wheel, staring straight ahead. "I should have gone that night," he whispered. "Maybe she wouldn't have disappeared. Maybe things would be different." I rested my hand on his arm. "You can't change the past. But maybe you can understand it. Maybe that's what she wants." He closed his eyes for a moment. Then he started the car. The drive was long. Longer than it felt 2 years ago, he said. Longer because this time, he wasn't running away from the memory, he was driving straight into it. The sky stayed gray the entire ride. Not raining, just dull. Muted. Quiet. He barely spoke. And when he did, his words came out like pieces of a truth he was still trying to arrange. "She trusted me more than anyone," he murmured. "She told me the bridge scared her. She hated that place. But that night, she still went there. You said she was in trouble, I reminded him gently. What kind of trouble? He swallowed hard. Something to do with her ex, someone who didn't want to let her go. He shook his head slowly. She didn't tell me everything. Just enough to scare me, but not enough to make me understand how serious it was. I stared out the window, watching trees blur past. And you didn't go? He nodded once, painfully. I didn't go. The quiet between us felt thick. Sad. But not angry. We finally turned onto a narrow road leading toward the river. The closer we got, the more tense he became. His breathing changed. Shorter. Faster. As if every kilometer peeled away a layer of denial he had wrapped around himself. I dream about her here, he said quietly. Not in the city. Not anywhere else. Here. The road ended near a small clearing. Beyond it, the old wooden bridge stretched across the river. A place that once held nothing but flowing water and passing time, but now held memories he couldn't escape. We stepped out of the car. The air felt different here. Cooler. Still. Like the world was holding its breath. He walked ahead slowly, almost afraid the ground might shift under him. This is where she last called me, he said, pointing toward the start of the bridge. She stood right here. Her voice was shaking. She said someone was following her. A chill crawled up my spine. Did she say who? He shook his head. No. But she said she didn't feel safe. She begged me to come. I told her I couldn't. He pressed a hand against his forehead. She cried. I hung up. And then, nothing. She was gone. I didn't speak. There was nothing I could say that would make his guilt disappear. We stood there in silence for a moment. Then, his phone vibrated. We both froze. He looked at the screen. Eyes widening. Blood draining from his face. What is it? I asked, heart racing. He turned the phone toward me. Unknown. Calling. The same unknown number that left the voicemail. The same number connected to the name of the woman he lost. His hands shook violently. I can't answer, he whispered. You have to, I said softly. Maybe this is why we came. The phone kept vibrating. Insistent. Unsettling. Demanding attention. He stared at it like it was something alive. Then, with a shaky breath, he swiped to answer. Hello? He said, voice barely audible. What came next made my knees weaken. A breath. A soft, trembling breath. Then the same woman's voice, faint, broken, familiar. Why did you leave me here? He staggered backward. The voice continued, you promised you'd come back, but you never did. The call crackled. Then ended abruptly. He dropped the phone. Not accidentally. Almost like it burned him. We're not alone, he whispered. She's here. She's been here all along. And before I could respond, something moved at the far end of the bridge. A shadow. Small. Still. But unmistakably, human. For a moment, neither of us breathed. The shadow stood at the far end of the bridge. Not moving. Not stepping closer. Just standing there, like it had been waiting. The wooden planks creaked softly beneath our feet, even though we hadn't moved. The river flowed underneath, slow and dark. The air was cold enough to sting. He grabbed my arm without looking away from the figure. Do you see that? He whispered. I do, I whispered back. The shadow didn't wave. Didn't speak. Didn't shift. Just stood perfectly still. Maybe it's someone else, I murmured, even though I didn't believe it myself. He shook his head. No one comes here anymore. This bridge was declared unsafe 2 years ago. They closed the trail. I swallowed hard. Then who is that? His breathing grew uneven. He stepped forward once, just one slow step. The shadow didn't react. Didn't flinch. Maybe it's my mind, he whispered. Maybe I'm seeing something that isn't there. But before I could respond, the figure moved. Not closer. Just slightly to the side. Enough for light to slip through, and reveal the unmistakable silhouette of a woman. Thin. Still. Head tilted down, hair falling over her face. He froze. That's her, he said. Barely a sound. Just a breath shaped into words. How can you be sure? I asked carefully. I know her posture. I know her shape. I know the way she stands. I've replayed it in my head 1,000 times. The shadow didn't move again. Didn't beckon. Didn't approach. Just existed, like an unfinished sentence. He took another step forward. I grabbed his wrist. Wait. You don't know what this is. It could be, I owe her. His voice broke. I left her once. I won't walk away again. The desperation in his voice cut through me. This wasn't fear. This wasn't even guilt anymore. This was a man who had been running from the same moment for years, and now he was being dragged right back to it. He took another step. Then another. Stay behind me, he said quietly. I followed him anyway. Close. Close enough to feel how fast his heart was beating. As we moved down the bridge, the planks groaned beneath us. Old wood. Fully, just enough. Enough for us to see the slightest glint of reflection where eyes should damp from the rain. Every step felt like a warning. Every sound like a breath being held. Halfway across, the figure shifted again, a small movement, but enough to make him stop. He whispered her name. Soft. Broken. Is it you? The figure lifted its head a little. Not B. My throat tightened. My skin prickled with cold. Then, the wind picked up. Only a little. But enough to move her hair aside just for a second. It wasn't her. Not completely. Not clearly. Not fully human. Her features were blurred by distance and shadow, but there was something undeniably familiar in the shape of her jaw, the slope of her shoulders. A resemblance so strong it hurt to look at. He stepped closer. Slow. Drawn in by something he couldn't escape. But when he reached the last few boards before her, the figure suddenly stepped back. Not like a human would. Not cautious. Not afraid. Just, slipping backward. Effortless. Silent. Almost drifting. He reached out instinctively. Wait. Please, don't go. The figure paused at the very end of the bridge. Then lifted its head fully. And with a voice so faint it almost blended with the river's flow, she whispered, You left me here. His knees gave out. He fell forward onto his hands, breath shattering in the cold air. I'm sorry, he choked out. I'm so sorry. I should have come. I should have, but the figure didn't wait. She turned. And slowly, silently, stepped off the bridge. Right into the mist. Not falling. Not sinking. Just disappearing. Like she had never been there at all. The air grew painfully still. The river sounded louder. The world felt suddenly heavier. He stared at the empty space where she vanished. She's showing me something, he whispered. She wants me to follow. I grabbed his shoulders. Follow where? She just walked into nothing. He lifted his head. There's something under this bridge, he said quietly. Something I never knew to look for. Then he pointed toward the riverbank where the figure had vanished. We need to go down there. We climbed down the slope beside the bridge slowly. The earth was damp, slippery. Every step felt uncertain, like the ground didn't know if it wanted to hold us or warn us away. The river moved quietly below, not rushing, not loud, just that steady flow that hides more than it reveals. He led the way, eyes fixed on the bank where the figure had vanished. His hands shook with every branch he moved aside. Not from the cold, but from fear of what he might finally uncover. Are you sure this is safe? I asked quietly. He didn't answer right away. He just kept moving, breathing hard, like he was pushing through years of regret with each step. Finally he said, I don't care if it's safe. I care if it's true. We reached the bottom of the slope. The bridge towered above us, old wood cracked and darkened by weather. Under its shadow, the air felt colder, as if sunlight couldn't reach the places where secrets stayed. He stopped suddenly. She stood right around here, he whispered. On the call that night. I could hear the river behind her. The sound was exactly like this. We both listened. And yes, the rhythm was the same. The same uneven flow, the same soft splashing against the rocks. He closed his eyes, pained. I should have come. Even if I thought she was being dramatic. Even if I didn't believe her. I should have come. I rested a hand on his back. We're here now. That has to mean something. He nodded slightly, but his eyes stayed fixed on the riverbank. Something had caught his attention. What is that? I asked. At first, I didn't see it. Just rocks. Wet leaves. Roots twisting along the ground. But then, a flash of metal. Small. Half buried in the mud. He dropped to his knees instantly. It's something she had, he whispered. His fingers clawed into the dirt, pulling away mud and leaves. His breath came out sharp, fast. When he finally lifted the object, the world seemed to still. It was a bracelet. Thin. Delicate. Silver. With a tiny charm shaped like a raindrop. I remembered it instantly from the photos he showed me once, a gift he gave her for her birthday. You said she wore it every day, I whispered. She did, he said, voice shaking. She never took it off. Not once. He held the bracelet like it was fragile as breath itself. Why would it be here? I asked softly. He looked out at the river. His voice came out small. Because she didn't cross the bridge. Meaning. She never made it to the other side. Meaning, something happened here. At this exact spot. The place he never went to check that night. He stood up slowly, turning in a slow circle, scanning every inch of the riverbank. And then he froze again. I think there's something else, he whispered. He pointed toward the far edge of the bank where reeds grew thick and tall. Behind them, something dark. Something unnatural. Something that didn't belong to the softness of the river. We moved closer, pushing aside the tall grass. And there, half hidden beneath a layer of branches and old river debris, was a piece of fabric. Blue. Faded. Torn. He recognized it instantly. I recognized the expression on his face even more. That's her jacket, he whispered. I bought it for her the week before she disappeared. His knees buckled. He caught himself on a rock, breathing like someone who'd been punched too hard. The jacket was wedged between stones like it had been dragged by the river, but stuck before it could be carried away. My voice cracked. We need to call the police. But he shook his head violently. No. Not yet. Let me Let me understand. He stepped closer. Every movement slow. Careful. Terrified. And then, before I could stop him, he reached out and pulled the jacket free. Beneath it, buried in the mud and tangled roots, was a phone. Her phone. Still intact. Still locked. Still coated in the river's dirt and time. His breath left him. This is why she called me, he whispered. She had her phone. She tried to reach me. He held the phone to his forehead like he was praying. Apologizing. Begging. Then he looked at me, eyes shattered, guilt spilling through the cracks. She was here, he said. She waited for me. She begged me. And I didn't come. A sob escaped him then, raw, helpless. But before I could comfort him, the wind shifted. Cold. Sharp. And unmistakably purposeful. We both turned our heads at the same time. Up on the bridge, where we had stood minutes earlier, a figure stood again. Still. Silent. Watching. We froze. The figure on the bridge hadn't moved. Just stood there, silent, observing the riverbank where we crouched among mud and tangled roots. The air felt heavier, thicker, as if each second carried 100 years of regret. He held her phone tightly, as though it were a lifeline to a past he had failed. His knuckles were white. His jaw tight. And every shallow breath he took sounded like a confession. I failed her, he whispered, voice trembling. She trusted me, and I didn't show up. I left her alone when she needed me most. I didn't interrupt. There was nothing I could say that would lessen the weight in his chest. Not now. Not ever. The figure on the bridge shifted slightly. And though no wind had blown, her hair moved. Like something unseen guided it. The way she stood there, it was almost human, but not fully. She's here for me, he whispered, almost to himself. Not to punish me, but to remind me. To make me feel what I ignored for years. I realized then that the voicemail, the missed call, the shadow, all of it wasn't random. It wasn't a glitch. It was karma. Waiting for him. For this very moment. He took a deep breath, staring at the bridge. Every rainy night, he said quietly, I relive it. Every storm, every drip on the tent, it's like she's telling me I can't run anymore. The air seemed to shift again. The river flowed faster for a moment, as if urging him forward. He turned to me. I have to do this, he said. Not for me, for her. I nodded silently. Supporting him. Not in fear, but in understanding. Step by step, he walked toward the bridge. Closer. Closer to the shadow. Closer to the figure that had haunted him for years. As he reached the middle of the bridge, the figure finally spoke. Her voice clear, trembling, yet full of something I couldn't name. You promised, and you didn't come. Why? He swallowed hard, tears spilling down his cheeks. I was scared. I didn't know what to do. I thought I could fix it later. I thought, later wasn't enough, the voice snapped, echoing across the river. He flinched, shaking his head. I know. I know now. I see it. I understand. The shadow stepped closer, slowly. No threat. No anger. Just presence. I waited for you, she whispered softly. For years. I waited. And I forgive you. But you have to forgive yourself too. He sank to his knees on the bridge, the weight of years pressing down on him. The phone in his hand buzzed faintly, like a heartbeat. The rain began again. Soft, steady. As if the sky itself acknowledged his apology. He whispered to the figure, "I'm so sorry. I will never forget you. I will never leave someone waiting like that again." The shadow lifted her face toward him. For a second, I saw her eyes. Clear. Human. Alive. And then, like mist dissolving in sunlight, she vanished. The river flowed quietly again. The wind stopped. And for the first time in years, he exhaled. Karma had spoken. Not with vengeance. Not with anger. But with truth. And it had finally freed him. He looked at me, exhausted, broken, yet lighter than he had in years. "She's at peace," he whispered. "And now, maybe I can be too." It came to teach him. To show him the consequences of what he had left behind, and give him the chance to make peace. As we drove away from the bridge, the rain let up completely. The clouds parted slightly. Sunlight reflected on the river, sparkling like diamonds. And for the first time in years, he smiled. A real smile. Not one forced to hide fear, regret, or guilt. I glanced at him, feeling a mix of relief and awe. "This will stay with you forever," I said. "And it should. It made you stronger. Wiser." He nodded. "Stronger," he repeated softly. "And more aware. I won't forget her, but I'll live with the lesson she left me. I finally understand, karma isn't just about punishment. It's about truth." That night, we set up a new tent, farther from the bridge, under the soft glow of the moon. The rain fell lightly once more, but it felt like a friend this time, not a reminder of mistakes. We fell asleep listening to the steady rhythm of drops on the tent. And for the first time, it felt like peace. A quiet rainy night, yes. But one that brought more than fear or guilt. It brought truth. It brought closure. It brought the promise of moving forward, without leaving anyone behind again. And as I drifted to sleep, I realized something important. Karma doesn't arrive to scare you. It arrives to teach you. And if you're brave enough to face it, it will let you go. After the shadow vanished and the river returned to its quiet rhythm, we stayed on the bridge for a long time. Neither of us spoke. The silence wasn't heavy anymore. It was calm. A calm that comes after a storm has passed, both outside and inside. He sat on the edge of the bridge, legs dangling over the river. The mud and grime from the riverbank still clung to him. His hands shook slightly, but this time from release, not fear. "I can't believe it," he whispered. "I've carried this guilt for 2 years, every rainy night, every sleepless moment, and she was just waiting for me to face it." I rested my hand on his shoulder. "You did face it," I said softly. "You didn't run this time." He nodded slowly, letting out a long, shaky breath. "I owe her peace," he said. "And I owe myself forgiveness." The rain that had started again fell softly now, drumming lightly on the bridge above us. It was calming. Almost like a lullaby. He picked up the bracelet she had left behind. Held it tightly in his hand. "Every time it rains," he murmured, "I'll remember her, not with regret, but with respect. With care. With love for what she meant." I smiled, quietly, knowing that this night, this rainy, quiet night, had changed him forever. Not because he was freed from guilt entirely, but because he finally understood the weight of actions, of promises, of choices. We walked back to the car slowly, hand in hand. The world felt lighter somehow. The river flowed the same, the trees swayed gently in the wind, but nothing felt ordinary anymore. That night, in the tent, I had thought karma had come for him to punish him. But it hadn't.